Darkness had ruled Titan Colony for more than an hour when Commander Elias Wren first heard it. The hum of the generators, a low, ongoing breath, filled the cavernous control room. The lights were dim, cool blue. Outside the reinforced glass windows, methane fumes glowed faintly, lit by distant structures. Elias stood by the main console, scanning telemetry feeds. He was tall, lean, with gray-flecked black hair. His face showed the burden of 30 years hiding from the Zarketh who had killed Earth. He had spoken into silence for decades, but tonight, silence answered back, then a crackle, a voice, old, terrible. "Elias, can you hear me?" He froze. The voice was unmistakable, soft, yet urgent. It came from the scrubbed clean archive database. It carried a note of fear. And hope. Lieutenant Mara Chun, sitting beside him, gasped. "Is that Dylan Vega?" Dylan had died on Earth's final orbital shuttle. A hero, a friend. Commanded a ship that evacuated kids, families. He died saving them. The words should not exist anymore. Yet there they were. The transmission repeated, static then clear. "Elias, you have to know." They were not afraid of weakness. They were afraid of what we could become. "Find the vault. Near the Red Reach, I can guide you. But hurry. They are coming." Heart pounding, Elias pressed his hand to the console. The voice wavered, then shut off into silence. He looked at Mara. "Dylan's voice live." Mara shook her head, eyes shining. "Impossible." He leaned in, or a trap. Outside, alarms started, low and steady. Something had triggered in the colony's deep space listening arrays. The console's red lights blinked. Elias turned. "Mara, get the engineers. Tell Colonel Hyder it's urgent. I want all com arrays on full scan." She nodded and hurried away. He stared out through the glass, studying the methane fields. Titan sat so far from the sun, so far from home. And yet, this voice dragged him back to Earth. He recalled Dylan's last words over video feed. "Keep humans alive. Wren, no matter what." Then flash of flames, then silence. Now this message. Now Elias's mind raced. Could Dylan still be alive? Did he record this before he died? Or was this something worse? A mimic, a Zarketh trick. Without Dylan, they had lost hope. With Dylan, maybe something more. He opened a secure channel to Colonel Hyder. The colonel appeared on the screen. 30 seconds later, a tall woman, stern face, dark uniform. "Titan's deputy leader, Colonel," Elias said, voice steady. "We've intercepted a message. It claims to be Dylan Vega." She jumped. "Dylan Vega is dead. Earth died with him." He nodded. "I know, but the voice is real. He mentions a vault near the Red Reach region. Claimed they feared what we could become." Hyder's eyes narrowed. "Red Reach, outer rim of Titan sensor range. Very cold, isolated. Mines, nothing humans kept." "Maybe not anymore," he said. "Are you certain?" she asked. "You heard it?" "Yes." She faded from the screen. Elias sank into his seat, heart racing. The silence thrummed in his ears. He looked down at the message transcript. They were not afraid of weakness. They were afraid of what we could become. "Find the vault. Near the Red Reach. I can guide you. But hurry, they are coming." Every word carried weight. The phrase, "they were afraid of what we could become," burned in his mind. He rose again. "Mara," she returned with 2 engineers. He motioned them close. "Listen," he said, replaying the message. They listened, then stared at him. Engineer Dean whispered, "If it's a remnant of old Drake-class Comtech, that means it sat in the archive for 30 years. Mara crossed her arms. "Which means someone or something is using it now." Elias stared at the ceiling. His next words came quiet, deadly. "We move tonight. Prepare the shuttle." Moments later, inside the hangar was cold steel and low orange lights. The shuttle Astrea stood ready. Its doors open. 2 engineers ran final scans. Fuel pumps hissed. Outside the windows, the alien sky loomed. Elias came aboard. Mara followed. She wore her patrol jacket, boots heavy in the hum of the deck. He entered the cockpit. The pilot, Jacques Rourke, gave a curt nod. "Commander." "What's the mission?" He tapped the console. "We chase a ghost." Someone thought Dylan's voice could guide us. "We're going to check the Red Reach mines." Jacques' eyes widened. "That's 2 days' travel, one way, with these engines. No sure fast return." Elias nodded. "Then we do it knowing the risk. Launch in 5 minutes." Countdown. Tension builds, the launch deck filled with low shouts and action. Fuel valves opened. Flashing lights. The hum increased. People moved with quiet urgency. Mara approached Elias in the dim light. "Elias," she began, "if this is a trap?" He looked at her. "Then we walk into it together. We can't shrink from this." She swallowed hard. "And if we're too late," he exhaled. "Then give our best, and may we be in time." They shared a moment. Then the engines roared. The shuttle rumbled. Launch sequence. Minutes later, Astreus detached from Titan. The ground fell away, replaced by the glow of methane seas. The engines flared. The shuttle angled up, through haze toward the black of space. Inside the cockpit, the 2 pilots worked. Outside, the capsule door hummed. A single tremor rolled through the cabin as they reached the edge of atmosphere. Elias watched numbers flicker. Signal strength, 0. Temp, -180 Celsius. He leaned forward, approaching Red Reach region. Jack said, "Sensors picking up, tunnels, old human-built mines." Mara looked at him, lips tight. "Stay alert." The shuttle shuddered as it crossed the boundary. Silence. Then, "Commander Wren." The ship's Athena AI chimed. "I have detected a faint radio source." Elias let a breath out. "Coordinates?" They blinked on screen. A point deep in the mining tunnels. He gripped the console. "Set a course." Through the mines. 30 minutes later, the shuttle descended into a cavern mouth. The tunnels were carved into ice and rock. Blue-white lights glinted off the walls. Ancient rail lines crossed the floor. Outside, the lights from the shuttle cast long shadows. Elias and Mara suited up and stepped onto the narrow platform. The shuttle door closed behind them with a hiss. Jock stayed aboard, ready to take off. The air was stale. Their boots echoed. The quiet swallowed them. Elias held a data tablet. He scanned the signal. It grew stronger deeper inside. Mara whispered, "Signal, clearer." They moved. Past old mining carts, abandoned equipment, empty conduits. It felt alive. Their breaths puffed in their helmets. "Stop." Elias held up a hand. Ahead was a large metal door, its surface dented, frostbitten. The signal pinged stronger. He checked the console. The door panel flickered, access locked. He tapped. The screen, "Nothing," he said. "On 3, we open it." Mara said nothing. She pointed at the door. They gripped the handle. Elias nodded. 1, 2, 3, they pulled. The door creaked. Sparks flashed. A hiss of air. Then it slid open. Inside, a narrow hallway lit by dim yellow bulbs. At the end, a small satellite dish turning slowly. Below, a portable comm unit. It hooked into the wall. He stepped forward. The signals pitch faint in the crook of an empty corridor. He approached and touched the unit. The audio channel activated. Static. Then the voice again. "Dylan Vega." "Elias, you found it." "The vault. Unlock the hatch." Elias swallowed. The terminals around him lit up. Mara froze. "The hatch?" He looked at her. "He's not dead." She pressed lips tight. "Then get ready. This is just the start." He tapped controls. A metal panel slid into place. Gears ground. Steam hissed. Lights buzzed. Sudden sound and echo down the corridor. A soft footstep. Not theirs. Elias paused. Who's there? Nothing. Then a voice. Deep, alien, calm. You should not be here. Shock. Horror. They whirled around. No one. Another step, slow, deliberate. In the walls, an air vent shook. The last sliver of yellow light reached them and vanished. Cliffhanger moment. Silence. The vault door glowed with a blue panel. Dylan's voice repeated one final phrase. They are coming. Elias pressed his radio. His voice trembled just a little. Astreus, get ready. We have company. The vault door stood open behind them, cold air swirling from the tunnel's mouth. Commander Elias Wren gripped his rifle tightly, every muscle ready. Mara Chun stood beside him, eyes scanning the darkness. The strange voice from before had vanished. No footsteps now, no air movement. Only silence. But they both felt it. Something was still watching. Inside the vault chamber, lights flickered to life, one by one. Elias led the way in. Rows of consoles lined the walls. Screens cracked. Some still glowed faint green. Dust covered everything. In the center stood a large, sealed cylinder metal, tall, covered in frost. A symbol on its side caught Elias's eye. UND's Archive Core. Talsa 1. He stepped closer. This is from Earth's defense fleet. Mara stared. The Halcyon was destroyed over Mars. Elias knelt beside the core. Not destroyed, hidden. He wiped frost from a nearby screen. Text blinked. Archive integrity, 27% user. Authorization, required. A prompt appeared. Commander Elias Wren, confirm? He hesitated. How does it know me? Mara whispered. Try it. He tapped the screen. The room shook. A low hum began, and the cylinder split open, steam pouring out as ancient hinges unlocked. Inside was not a person, but an AI core, glowing. Faint blue. The voice that followed was soft, female. Clear. Commander Wren, I am Naira. I have been waiting. The AI awakens. Mara stepped back, hand near her pistol. An AI? Elias stayed still. You were part of the Halcyon? Yes, the voice said. I served as mission control during the final days of the Earth War. Before the evacuation. Failed. He nodded slowly. Why are you here? To protect what's left of humanity. And to warn you, the Zarketh did not destroy Earth to defeat you. They destroyed it to stop something you were about to awaken. Elias's breath caught. What? The AI pulsed. Project Enoch. Mara frowned. That sounds religious. In a way, Nira replied. Project Enoch was human evolution forced evolution. A breakthrough. The ability to interface with machines not by code, but by mind. Thought control. Living systems. Elias whispered. Biotech. More than that, Nira said. Humanity was beginning to evolve. Mentally. And the Zarketh saw it as a threat. They don't fear weapons. They fear what you might become. The hidden files. Elias stepped closer to the console. Show me. Nira projected a small blue light in the air. Images flickered. Earth cities burning, then flashes of data. DNA strands, brain scan overlays, test subjects linking with war drones. A final clip showed a young woman, eyes closed, controlling 5 robotic machines with just her thoughts. Mara's voice cracked. This was real? It was, Naira said. And she was only the first. But before it could be deployed, the Zarketh attacked. It wasn't random. They came for the data. Elias's voice was cold. And they got it? Not all. That's why I was hidden. I carry fragments of Project Enoch, and I can help you finish it. Mara turned to Elias. If she's telling the truth, we could turn this war around. He nodded slowly. Or destroy ourselves trying. Sudden alarm. The moment froze as Nira's voice shifted. Warning. Unauthorized signal detected. Colony Titan is under surveillance. Zarketh probes are listening. Elias stepped back. They found us. Mara activated her comms. Jax, are you reading this? No reply, static. Their listening drones are using phase echo, Nira said. They are near, but not visible. Elias turned. We need to get back. Mara stared at the AI. What about her? Nira spoke calmly. My core can be moved. I suggest you hurry. Elias nodded. Grab it. The two pulled the AI core from its base. Heavy, but manageable. Escaped through the ice. They retraced their steps, tunnel by tunnel. Outside, the dark sky above Titan showed faint stars. The shuttle was visible in the distance, but the hatch was open. Something wasn't right. Jax? Elias called. No answer. He ran forward, Mara behind him. The ship was cold, engines still warm. No sign of damage, but Jax was gone. Inside the cockpit, his helmet sat on the chair. His comms log showed one outgoing message. Elias tapped it. They're here. I can see them. Black shadows in the mist. Tell Elias, silence, Mara whispered. They got him. Nira's voice came through a small panel. I detect no heartbeat. I am sorry. Elias stared out into the mist beyond the landing zone. The shadows moved tall, thin, silent. Mara raised her weapon. Orders? Elias took a breath. We leave now. He ran to the controls, fired the engines. The shuttle lifted, shaking. The creatures did not follow, just watched as they rose. Above Titan's surface, Mara looked back. What are they waiting for? Elias replied. They want us to be afraid. Back to the colony, new secrets. Hours later, the shuttle docked back at Titan Colony. The hangar was quiet. Colonel Hyder met them as they exited. Her face was unreadable. Where's the pilot? Elias shook his head. Gone. Hyder's voice was low. We had intrusions. Signals in the deep layers. Some of our sensor arrays fried. Elias placed the AI core on the table. They were tracking us, listening. Hyder pointed to the core. What is that? Elias looked her straight in the eye. Our second chance. The revelation later, in the main lab, the AI Nira was connected to secure systems. Technicians and officers watched as data began uploading. She told them everything about Project Enoch, about what Earth scientists had discovered in secret, about the mental link systems, about the rebel alien who first helped create the tech. Colonel Hyder paced slowly. You're saying the Zarketh didn't destroy Earth just for control. They were afraid humans would surpass them. Correct, Nira answered. They were afraid of your mind. Hyder scoffed. We barely survived. What mind? It only takes a few, and those few were very close. Elias watched the screen. The files coming in were rough, damaged, but some things were clear. The neural link systems, diagrams of human Zarketh interface failures, and one name repeated: Project Enoch Subject 001. Vega. Dylan. Mara gasped. No. Elias stepped closer. Dylan was the test subject? Nira answered. He survived the destruction of Earth. For a while. Mara whispered. That message wasn't a recording. He sent it recently, Nira confirmed. Correct. He may still be alive. Ending scene. The red light. Late that night, Elias stood alone in the observation room. Stars twinkled far away. Earth's place in the sky. Empty. He heard footsteps behind him. Mara, she said. You believe it? He nodded. I saw the data. Dylan's mind was linked. He might be the only one who still knows how to finish Enoch. She looked down. Then what do we do? He turned to her. Eyes cold, focused. We stop hiding. He pressed a button. Colony alarms flared. All crew prepare for first stage Enoch recovery. We begin in 18 hours. Final cliffhanger moment inside the lab. Nira's core flickered. The AI whispered to itself, almost too quiet to hear. They're waking up. We must hurry. before the Zarkith send their harvesters. Outside the colony, in the darkness of Titan's icy plains, a new shadow moved, and this one was human. The lights in Titan colony dimmed as the emergency signal echoed through its long metal halls. All crew prepare for first stage Enoch recovery. We begin in 18 hours. Colonel Hyder stood near the command deck, arms crossed, watching engineers. Scramble. People didn't fully understand yet. But the word Enoch spread fast. Whispers moved like wildfire. A way to fight back. Something the Zarkith feared. The old commander, he's planning something big. Down in the lab, Commander Ilias Wren leaned over a flickering screen. Nira the AI recovered from the vault displayed ancient data across the glass. Blueprints, experiments, test logs. Mara. Chun paced the room behind him. Are we sure this is worth it? Elias didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed locked on the words. Subject, 001. Dylan Vega. Condition, mind stabilized. Connection successful. Status, disconnected during breach. Possible recovery. Elias spoke quietly. If Dylan is alive. We need him, Mara sighed. He may not be the same. Elias looked up. None of us are. The plan begins the next morning. Crews gathered in the main hangar. Nira's voice echoed through speakers. Project Enoch can only be completed with data stored on Outpost Theta, Earth's last orbiting lab. It still drifts in the void. Lost, but not unreachable. A large hologram lit up the room. A star chart. Titan, Saturn, far off, a broken circle. Outpost Theta, 1.6 billion kilometers from their location. Colonel Hyder frowned. We thought it was destroyed. Nira replied, no, disabled, hidden from scans. But I can show you the way. Elias turned to the gathered crew. We're launching a small team. This is not a fight. It's a recovery mission. But if Dylan Vega is out there, we bring him back. Mara added, the outpost might be damaged, dangerous, but it holds the rest of Project Enoch. One engineer raised a hand. And if the Zarkith find us? Elias answered, voice firm. Then we remind them we're not dead yet. Departure into deep space. Hours later, the sleek recon ship Vanguard powered up. Smaller than a colony shuttle. Fast. Silent. Built for stealth. Elias, Mara, and 2 more crew boarded. Lieutenant Harrow, a systems expert. Dr. Alira Knox, a neural scientist who had once worked on I-Link theory back on Luna. Nera's core was installed directly into the ship's brain. She would guide them. The launch was quiet. No big send-off. Just cold air, flashing lights. And a deep silence as the Vanguard left Titan's orbit. Inside the cockpit, Elias watched the stars stretch. Set course, he said. Nyra responded. Confirmed. Approaching Theta in 29 hours. Then she paused. There is something else. A signal, weak, human origin. It is coming. From near Theta. Elias narrowed his eyes. Someone else is out there? I believe it's him. Wreckage and warning, the journey passed mostly in silence. But as they neared the old outpost, things changed. Outside the ship, floating debris began to appear. Broken satellites. Pieces of destroyed ships. Craters from ancient battles. Mara looked out the viewport. This place, it's a graveyard. Then, they saw it, Outpost Theta, a long metal ring, half broken. Spinning slowly, some lights still on, parts of it frozen over. One docking bay still intact. Elias whispered, looks like it's waiting for us. As they approached, Harrow picked up the signal. It's real, he said. Voice channel, playing now. Crackling static filled the room. Then, this is Commander Dylan Vega. If you're hearing this, I'm still here. Don't trust everything you see. They're learning to copy us. If you find me, be sure it's really me. Silence. Dr. Knox looked pale. They can mimic voices, faces. Elias stood up. Then we go in prepared. Boarding the outpost, the team docked on the outer ring. The airlock hissed open. Guns ready, suits sealed, they entered. Inside, the outpost was silent, dark. Emergency lights glowed red. Walls covered in frost. Floating debris. Wires hung from ceilings. Dead screens. Broken drones. Nira's voice came through their comms. I detect motion on level 3. Something alive. The team moved down rusted hallways, room by room, until they reached a control center door half open. Inside, a single figure stood with his back to them. Don't move, Elias ordered. The figure turned slowly. It was Dylan Vega. Face gaunt. Beard grown, but eyes sharp. He raised one hand. Elias. It's really you. Elias lowered his gun slightly. Prove it. Dylan smiled faintly. Your old nickname was Stone. You hated it. Said it made you sound cold. Elias smiled. Back. Only you knew that. But Mara kept her weapon raised. How do we know he's not one of them? Dylan nodded. You don't. Not yet. But I can show you something they don't have. He pointed to a device on his wrist. A cracked but working neural interface. Linked to the outpost systems. With a thought, he lit up every room in the station. Elias whispered, it's him. Secrets and scars. They brought Dylan back to the Vanguard. As they flew back toward Titan, he explained everything. I was linked to Project Enoch from the start, he said. It nearly killed me. But I learned how to hide from the Zarkith in their own systems. I've lived inside this ship, that outpost, and silence. Dr. Knox asked, can you finish it, Enoch? He nodded. With Nira, yes, we can give humanity a weapon the Zarkith can't control. But it comes with a cost, Elias asked. What cost? Dylan looked out the window. Once we wake the system fully, they'll come for us. All of them. No more hiding. Final scene. A threat revealed as they neared Titan. Nira suddenly cut in. Alert. Zarkith signature detected near colony. 1 vessel. Then 2. Then ... 9. Elias gritted his teeth. They heard us. Dylan stood up. Then we finish what they started. We turn fear back on them. Outside, Titan's icy sky flashed red. The war had just restarted. The battle was over for now. Titan colony was quiet again, but it wasn't peace. Not yet. Inside the medical wing, Dylan Vega sat in silence, hooked to a recovery pod. His skin was pale, his breathing slow. Commander Elias Wren watched him through the glass. Mara stood beside Elias. He pushed too far, didn't he? Elias nodded. His mind is strong, but even that has limits. Suddenly, Nira's voice came through the speakers. Commander, a message has been found. Buried deep inside Project Enoch. It was not placed by me. Elias turned. Show me. A hologram lit up. A face appeared, but it wasn't just anyone. It was Dylan Vega. Not the one resting in the medical wing. This one looked younger, cleaner, his voice calm. If you're seeing this, then the clone has awakened. The forgotten secret. Elias stared at the hologram. A clone? He asked. Nyra explained. Dylan Vega was not the only version. During early Project Enoch trials, 5 neural copies were made. In case of his death. Mara stepped forward, her voice uncertain. So the Dylan we brought back, Nira confirmed, is a clone. One who survived the collapse of Outpost Theta. But he remembers everything. Elias clenched his jaw. Why didn't he tell us? Nira paused. Perhaps he didn't know. Or perhaps he feared you wouldn't trust him. Awaking Minden the med wing, Dylan opened his eyes. He heard their voices through the glass, saw their faces, concern, doubt, confusion. And suddenly, he remembered more, not just from the outpost. Not just from battles, but from before. From labs, from experiments, people in white coats, machines digging into his brain. A voice. Subject 3 shows unusual memory retention. He may become unstable. Dylan sat up, breathing hard. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a weapon. Built, tested, and left behind. The visitor. That night, as the colony rested, a ship landed outside the normal dock. No alerts. No warnings, just a smooth, silver craft. Unmarked. Silent. Elias and Mara arrived with security teams, weapons drawn. The ship opened. A single figure walked out. He looked human, male, bald, wearing a black cloak with silver veins. His eyes glowed faint red, but everyone knew he wasn't human. Elias stepped forward. State your purpose. The figure smiled. I am Kale. I bring a message and a warning. Kale's warning. Kale was escorted into the colony under tight guard. In the central chamber, he stood calmly, surrounded by soldiers. I was once like you, Kale began. But they changed me. Mara frowned. The Zarketh? Kale nodded. They took our minds, twisted our thoughts, turned humans into tools. I broke free. He looked around. But they are building something worse now. A minefield across the stars. Anyone who enters it will lose who they are. Thought by thought, memory by memory, Elias leaned in. Why are you warning us? Kale answered, because your clone Dylan is the key. The Zarketh want him back. Trust and doubt later. In private, Elias spoke with Dylan. You knew you were a clone? He asked. Dylan hesitated. Not at first, but yes. I felt the memories weren't mine, or not only mine. Mara stood nearby. Can we trust you? Dylan looked them both in the eye. I don't know what I was made to be, but I know who I choose to be. And right now I choose humanity. Elias nodded. Then we need you more than ever. Preparing for war with Kale's help, the colony upgraded its defenses. Nera unlocked deeper Enoch systems. Kale taught them how to resist mental attacks. Dylan trained harder, pushing his mind into new territory, but in deep space. The Zarketh were watching. Final scene, the eyes in the void in the blackness between galaxies. A massive Zarketh structure blinked awake. Inside, minds screamed. A voice echoed across space. Bring back the clone, or we erase them all. Dylan heard it in his dreams, and he smiled. Let them try. The battle was over for now. Titan colony was quiet again, but it wasn't peace. Not yet. Inside the medical wing, Dylan Vega sat in silence, hooked to a recovery pod. His skin was pale, his breathing slow. Commander Elias Wren watched him through the glass. Mara stood beside Elias. He pushed too far, didn't he? Elias nodded. His mind is strong, but even that has limits. Suddenly, Nera's voice came through the speakers. Commander, a message has been found. Buried deep inside Project Enoch. It was not placed by me. Elias turned. Show me. A hologram lit up. A face appeared, but it wasn't just anyone. It was Dylan Vega. Not the one resting in the medical wing. This one looked younger, cleaner, his voice calm. If you're seeing this, then the clone has awakened. The forgotten secret. Elias stared at the hologram. A clone? He asked. Nyra explained. Dylan Vega was not the only version. During early Project Enoch trials, 5 neural copies were made. In case of his death, Mara stepped forward, her voice uncertain. So the Dylan we brought back, Nera confirmed, is a clone. One who survived the collapse of Outpost Theta. But he remembers everything. Elias clenched his jaw. Why didn't he tell us? Nera paused. Perhaps he didn't know. Or perhaps he feared you wouldn't trust him. Awaking Mind in the med wing, Dylan opened his eyes. He heard their voices through the glass, saw their faces, concern, doubt, confusion. And suddenly, he remembered more, not just from the outpost, not just from battles, but from before. From labs, from experiments, people in white coats, machines digging into his brain. A voice, Subject 3 shows unusual memory retention. He may become unstable. Dylan sat up, breathing hard. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a weapon. Built, tested, and left behind. The visitor. That night, as the colony rested, a ship landed outside the normal dock. No alerts. No warnings, just a smooth, silver craft. Unmarked. Silent. Elias and Mara arrived with security teams, weapons drawn. The ship opened. A single figure walked out. He looked human, male, bald, wearing a black cloak with silver veins. His eyes glowed faint red, but everyone knew he wasn't human. Elias stepped forward. State your purpose. The figure smiled. I am Kale. I bring a message and a warning. Kale's warning. Kale was escorted into the colony under tight guard. In the central chamber, he stood calmly, surrounded by soldiers. I was once like you, Kale began. But they changed me. Mara frowned. The Zarketh? Kale nodded. They took our minds, twisted our thoughts, turned humans into tools. I broke free. He looked around. But they are building something worse now. A minefield across the stars. Anyone who enters it will lose who they are. Thought by thought, memory by memory, Elias leaned in. Why are you warning us? Kale answered, because your clone Dylan is the key. The Zarketh want him back. Trust and doubt later. In private, Elias spoke with Dylan. You knew you were a clone? He asked. Dylan hesitated. Not at first, but yes. I felt the memories weren't mine, or not only mine. Mara stood nearby. Can we trust you? Dylan looked them both in the eye. I don't know what I was made to be, but I know who I choose to be. And right now I choose humanity. Elias nodded. Then we need you more than ever. Preparing for war with Kale's help, the colony upgraded its defenses. Nera unlocked deeper Enoch systems. Kale taught them how to resist mental attacks. Dylan trained harder, pushing his mind into new territory, but in deep space. The Zarketh were watching. Final scene, the eyes in the void in the blackness between galaxies. A massive Zarketh structure blinked awake. Inside, minds screamed. A voice echoed across space. Bring back the clone, or we erase them all. Dylan heard it in his dreams, and he smiled. Let them try. Titan sky had never been so silent. Not even after the last battle. Now, it was the calm before something much worse. In the command center, Commander Elias stood before a holographic display. Red lines covered space around Titan. Beyond them, blinking like dying stars, was the minefield, a growing zone where reality broke. Ships that entered vanished. Voices faded. Some pilots came back, but didn't remember who they were, and it was spreading. Nyra single quotes, S-scan, begin scan, Elias. Ordered. Nyra, the AI guiding their systems, responded, scanning complete. The minefield has grown 13% in the last 48 hours. Based on trajectory, it will reach Titan in 6 days. Mara Chun stared at the display. It's like a living net, a trap. Kale, the former human turned Zarketh, stood behind them, quiet. He finally spoke. It's worse than a trap. It doesn't kill your body. It kills your identity. Elias frowned. Then how do we fight something we can't touch? Kale's eyes turned red for a moment. We send someone who can fight with more than weapons. Everyone turned to look at Dylan Vega. A dangerous mission in the briefing room. The plan was simple but deadly. The Vanguard would fly straight toward the edge of the minefield, not through. It just near enough for Dylan to link his mind with its source. If he could trace the signal back, they might learn how to shut it down before it consumed the colony. And Earth itself, Elias paced. We go in quiet, no weapons. Full mental shielding. Kale added, and if Dylan loses himself inside, Mara interrupted, then we pull him out, no matter what. But Dylan stood calmly. No, if I'm gone, you burn that zone to ashes. Inside the silence, The Vanguard moved through space like a shadow. Silent, cold, focused. Nyra spoke softly through the cockpit. Approaching edge of the minefield. All systems steady. No visual contact with Zarkith ships. Dylan sat in the neural chair. Wires linked to his skin, spine, and brain. He breathed slowly. I'm ready. As the ship neared the zone, the stars outside began to twist. One looked like a circle. Another blinked like an eye. Then everything went silent. Elias whispered, Dylan? No answer. Dylan's mind in the field. Dylan stood inside a strange space. No ground. No sky. Just layers of voices, memories, and broken thoughts floating around him. You're not real. He never loved you. You were a mistake. The voices stabbed at his mind like knives, but he focused. He knew who he was. I am Dylan Vega. I am human. I remember. Suddenly, a shape appeared. A Zarkith creature. Thin, long, made of shadows and bone. Its face kept changing, first his mother, then Elias, then nothing. It spoke in a voice made of regret. Why do you fight, little echo? Dylan answered without fear. Because you tried to erase us. Now, we're erasing you. The echo loop back on the Vanguard. Nearest systems flickered. Warning, neural feedback increasing. Mara checked the readings. He's going too deep. Inside the minefield, Dylan found something. A core. A ball of light surrounded by wires. Reaching through space like roots. It pulsed with the memories of hundreds of people lost in the minefield. Their thoughts were still trapped there. He realized the truth. The minefield wasn't just a weapon. It was a prison. One built by the Zarkith to feed on mines. If he could break the core, he could free them, but he had to connect with it fully. And that meant risking everything. The memory trapped the moment he touched the core. It hit him. Every memory. He had real and fake flashed before his eyes. His training. His mission. His birth. His creation. He saw scientists again. Lab rooms. The moment his brain was copied. The cold voice. Clone 3 has the highest resistance. Keep him isolated. He wasn't just made to fight. He was made to replace. He screamed in the silence, but something held him together. A single voice in his memory. Elias, years ago, saying, You're not a copy. You're a choice. And just like that, the core cracked. Breakthrough on the ship. Nearest systems glowed. Signal reversed. Pulse incoming. Dylan's body jerked. Then relaxed. He opened his eyes, whispering, I found the exit. Elias smiled. Welcome back. Aftershock. As they flew back to Titan, the stars behind them changed. The minefield began to shrink. Voices once lost were now heard again. And in the darkness, the Zarkith screamed. They knew they were losing control, but they were not done yet. Final scene. The sleeper ship deep inside a black star system. A massive Zarkith ship powered up. Inside it, thousands of sleeping humans. And a single chamber marked, Original Mind, Elias Wren. Titan colony was healing. The minefield had shrunk. The people cheered. But Elias Wren felt no peace. He stood alone in the observation room, staring at a report from Nyra. Zarkith ship located. Designation, Genesis Core. Cargo, 7,412. Human bodies. One confirmed, Original Elias Wren. He read it again. Original. He whispered. Then who am I? The truth revealed in the control chamber. Kale explained what Dylan had unlocked. The Zarkith never erased your species, he said. They copied it, hid the originals. Why? Mara asked. To control you. You were born in their image copies with hidden chains. Elias shook his head. You're saying, I'm not the first me? Kale nodded. You are version 9, a copy of a commander they couldn't break. Mara backed away. So we're all clones? No, Dylan said calmly. We're more than that now. We've made choices they can't control. Target, Genesis Core. They had one option now, destroy the Genesis core ship. If the Zarkith woke the originals, they could reset all human minds. Kale explained. Their plan is simple. Replace your memories. Force loyalty. Erase resistance. Elias clenched his fists. Then we strike first. They formed a team: Elias, Dylan, Mara, Kale, and an elite squad. Their mission: board the Genesis core. Destroy the chamber before it activates. Approach the Vanguard, launched once more, this time into a dead zone. Stars dimmed here, light bent. Strangely, the Genesis core ship was massive, like a floating city of steel and bone. It hung silent in orbit around a black dwarf star. Nira's voice echoed. Weapons offline. No guards detected. They want you to come. Kale's eyes narrowed. It's a trap, Elias smiled. Then we spring it loud. Boarding the beast, the docking bay was empty. No lights. No movement. The team moved through dark halls with rifles raised. Bodies floated in glass tubes lining every corridor. All human, all in stasis. They passed dozens of faces, including Mara's. Her breath caught. That's me. Kale touched the glass. The Zarkith made copies of the strongest. Soldiers, leaders, thinkers. Dylan whispered and left. The real ones behind until now. The central core. They reached the chamber. A tall spire glowed in the center. Cables ran through walls like veins. In the middle, 7 pods. Each marked Elias Ren, original. Dylan Vega, original. Mara Chun, original. And others. Suddenly, a voice filled the air, not mechanical, not alien. It was Elias's voice. You were never meant to wake up. You were tools, experiments, failed copies. Elias raised his weapon. That's not my voice. But Dylan stepped forward. No, it's the original. He's been awake, watching. Mind versus mind. The lights went red. The pods opened. And from them, the original stepped out. Older, colder, dressed in deep black armor, but clearly human. Elias stared at his original self. They looked into each other's eyes, so alike. But one felt real, the other rotten. The original. Elias spoke first. You think you've won? You're a shadow, a test subject. The copy smiled. Maybe, but I chose who I became. And the fight began. The battle of wills. Guns fired. Energy cracked. Dylan faced his original, just as skilled, just as fast. But the clone had lived through war. I'm not your copy, Dylan growled. I'm your evolution. Kale fought 2 at once, Zarkith hybrids in human shells. Mara and her original clashed in the airlock. You were too emotional. The original. Mara hissed. And you were too empty, the clone replied, slamming her into the wall. Sacrifice. The battle raged near the core reactor. Nera's voice echoed. Core overload possible. Recommend retreat. Elias ignored it. He fought his original hand to hand. Why did you let them use us? The clone asked. The original smirked. Because I never cared about the cost. Then Mara fired. The original fell. Silenced. Elias stood, breathing hard. Let's end this. Ending the chain. Kale connected to the reactor. Once this blows, no more backups. No more copies. Dylan paused at his pod. Inside, the original him still lived, weak, dying. Dylan whispered, goodbye, and crushed the panel. Escape. An explosion. The Vanguard pulled away just as the Genesis core exploded. A flash of light. A wave of silence. And then peace. Final scene. Rebirth. Back on Titan, Elias stared into a mirror. He was still him. A copy? Maybe. But no longer controlled. They had erased their creators. And from now on, humanity would write its own code. Silence filled space where the Genesis core had been. The explosion was gone. But something remained. A signal. Weak. Hiding in static. OnYRA picked it up on the return trip to Titan. Message detected. Source unknown. Code level pre-Zarkith. Human. Directive. Final command. Elias stood quietly, listening. The war was not over. Not yet. A voice from the past. They gathered in the command chamber. Mara, Dylan, Kale, Elias, and the officers of Titan Colony. Nira played the message. A woman's voice spoke, old, tired, but still clear. This is Dr. Raina Holt, Chief Architect, Project Enoch. If this reaches any living human, know this. The Zarkith were never our greatest enemy. We were. Silence. The final directive was never about war. It was about survival. If the clones resisted the Zarkith, a deeper threat would awaken. A machine buried under Saturn's ice, built by the first ones who tried to play God. Kale's eyes widened. No, Nira's tone changed. Warning. Titan surface shift detected. Deep signal incoming. The awakening below Titan's surface trembled. Earthquakes weren't normal here. But now, the ground cracked open near the southern crater. A tower rose from beneath. Black metal, ancient, marked with strange glowing letters. Kale stared. That's not Zarkith. That's pre-human tech. Elias frowned. Who built it? Kale answered. The ones who created the Zarkith. The ones who failed to control evolution. The true enemies of life. The final directive Venera explained. This is the original failsafe. Project Nyx. If humanity became too strong, it would reset the galaxy. Zarkith were Phase 1. This is Phase 2. Dylan stepped forward. Then we shut it down. Mara shook her head. We don't even understand it yet. Kale's voice was calm. We don't have time. Descent into the unknown A-team was chosen. Elias, Mara, Dylan, Kale, and 2 scouts. They entered the underground tower through a glowing gate. Inside, pure silence. No life. No tech as they knew it. Walls shimmered with light that responded to thought. Nira stayed linked through Dylan's neural port. If I disconnect, you won't come back. Elias nodded. Then we keep the connection alive. Inside the tower they reached a core chamber. Floating above them, a giant cube of spinning light. And inside it was code, alive, breathing. Dylan approached it. Voices echoed. You are the flaw. You were not meant to continue. Directive, cleanse all deviation. The cube knew them. It had watched humanity grow, fall, fight back. It called them corruption. Decision point. A panel lit up. 2 options. Accept reset. All copies, hybrids, and resistance would be erased. Defy directive, but that would trigger galaxy-wide machine retaliation. Mara asked softly, can we survive that? Elias didn't blink. We've survived everything else. Kale placed his hand on the panel. He whispered, let this end with us choosing. He pressed defy. The collapse. The tower shook violently. Systems failed. Code began breaking apart. Nira screamed through the comms. Warning, artificial code core unraveling. Dimensional barrier collapsing. But then, silence. Light filled the room. Blinding. Pure. And then nothing. After light, Elias opened his eyes. He was standing on Titan's surface again. But something was different. The stars were brighter. The noise was gone. Kale stood beside him. The tower is gone, he said. So is the directive. Mara and Dylan joined them. No one spoke. They didn't need to. They had done the impossible. They had erased the code. Meant to erase them. Final. Scene. A new sky. Months passed. Titan colony became New Earth. Other colonies sent messages. The minefield is gone. Zarkith forces disappearing. We are free. Dylan now trained new defenders. Mara helped design a galactic council. Kale chose to explore far systems, seeking others who were still lost. Elias stood at a new monument engraved in simple text. We were copies, but we became creators. This is where the erasure ended. This is where humanity began again. He looked at the stars and smiled, free, at last.